Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Way Up Podcast with your host, Geoff Knoll. In this week's episode, I have the pleasure of interviewing Pam Graves. Pam is from beautiful Amelia Island, Florida. She is a wife, mother, realtor, and missionary. She was recognized by the National Association of Realtors as Realtors Are Good Neighbors for building Sunrise's School of Culinary Arts and Bakery in Uganda to help survivors of assault and forced child marriage build a new life for themselves. This episode of the Way Up Podcast is sponsored by me. I'm a real estate broker in the state of Missouri, and I believe that this message is worth my investment. Hang out with us to the end. I know you won't be disappointed. Hey, I am so excited to be here with my new friend, Pam Graves. She is a real estate agent in the state of Florida, and she just has some really exciting stuff going on. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, Pam. Introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and some of the exciting stuff that you guys have going on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with everyone today. I am in the great state of Florida, Amelia Island, which is in the northeast corner near Jacksonville. A beautiful coastal town, and selling real estate here. Did new home sales for about 5 years and now doing resales. So really loving that, and selling a piece of paradise here has been amazing. I actually grew up here, moved away, and came home. So I am a wife and mother, realtor, and missionary now.
That's exciting. So your missionary work has led you into this current chapter, and really how I found you was National Association of Realtors did a highlight on you for some of your mission work and what that's evolved and turned into. So will you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you. What a blessing that was. I got a call from one of the writers at Good Neighbors, Realtors Are Good Neighbors website or Facebook page. And then it evolved to NAR picking it up on the national level. And then today I just discovered it was on LinkedIn also. So incredible opportunity to spread the word about what is going on in Uganda.
So what is going on in Uganda?
Well, the number one question that I get is, how in the world did you get started doing this? As a Florida girl, going to Uganda and starting, a ministry there. My family and I actually traveled to Jinja, Uganda in 2015 on our very first mission trip. We went not having ever been to a third world war-torn country, had never been on a mission trip before anywhere, even locally. Some friends of ours at church had gone, and they came home and told us about what they experienced. And I told my husband during that meeting, I said, I don't know what all of this is about. But I know that I want what they have. I don't know how I'm going to get there or what that looks like, but I know I want what they came home with. And so from that point, we basically mimicked their itinerary because we had no idea where to even start. And so I booked everything for our family to go and mimic their itinerary. We stayed where they stayed. We served the organizations that they served. And I tell you, we stayed for 2 weeks, and I came home a different human being. It's hard to put into words. I've been very blessed to travel the world growing up, and I had never seen anything like what I was witnessing. When you are there in the thick of it and seeing it with your own eyes and feeling it and smelling it, and I mean just everything, you cannot help but be moved when you leave. So I was very, very burdened when I left to do something for the people of Uganda, but I had no idea what that looked like. I just know that the Lord was burdening my heart. And I kept thinking, what? I mean, how am I supposed to do anything? I'm one white lady from Florida. What am I going to do to impact a country or a region in Uganda that needs so much? I mean, the need is so overwhelming that I really just had no idea where to even begin or what that looked like. And trust has been a really big issue for me. And so I knew that it was going to require a lot of trust to be able to follow that, burden or that calling. And it was scary. Honestly, it really scared me. And I didn't know what to do.
How old were your kids when you guys went in 2015?
My oldest was 15. He actually had his 15th birthday there.
Oh, cool.
And my youngest was 10. She did not go. She stayed behind with family because of the immunizations. And she's a super, super picky eater. Like if I would have taken a whole suitcase of Kraft macaroni and cheese, she would have been fine. But because that wasn't going to happen, I really just didn't want to risk her health, going.
Sure.
So we left her behind, but then my husband and I went, and then a cousin of his went. It was life-changing, to say the least.
From your 15-year-old son's perspective, I went on a missions trip as a kid. My dad was a pastor of an Assemblies of God church. We went to Guatemala, I believe, maybe just Mexico. I have no idea. I was a little kid, but
right.
I do remember coming home. When we visited in all of these houses, a lot of them had dirt floors that we went in. I remember the trip back talking to my parents and saying, we're rich, aren't we? And we were not. By anyone's standards in America, we were not rich. We were living on a preacher's salary of a very small church in Kansas. And
but we
it was
absolutely
very eye-opening
to
see how some people live, yet with a smile on their face, and they greet you and they welcome you into their home, and the people are so genuine and they care. Like you could feel the love from people offering, digging in their freezer, giving you popsicles, and that they don't have money to be giving me anything. So
that's right. Absolutely.
The generosity and their heart, I was like, that moved me. That definitely touched me as a kid. So I can imagine your 15-year-old son probably had a very, very eye-opening experience.
No doubt. We served an organization there called Soul Hope, SOLE, Hope. And what they do is give out shoes made from people's jeans and then motorcycle tires that they refurbish over there. And some of those children that we were serving had never had a pair of shoes before.
Oh, wow.
That was their very first pair of shoes. And I'll never forget it. It was a medical clinic, a pop-up clinic, and we went into the village and I washed this little girl's feet. And, of course, there's a language barrier there, but they know. I mean, you can look in their eyes and share a smile. I mean, they know that you're there to love on them however you can and show them the love of Jesus. And so I was washing her feet, and then my son Nathan came over and picked her up so her little feet didn't get dirty, took her to the next station where she was sized for shoes, and then she got a brand new pair of shoes. And she came back around and found me when she was done, and she pulled on my shirt sleeve, and she said something, and I didn't understand what she said, and I leaned down and I said, "What, sweetheart?" And she said, "Thank you." Oh my gosh, Geoff, I lost it. Ugly cry all the way to the van. I mean, I just lost it because I thought, this child is so grateful for a pair of shoes made out of tires. I mean, and so to talk about Nathan's perspective, he came home to a closet full of shoes and, Nike Airs and, whatever, Air Jordans, all that stuff. And it changed his life. It changed his perspective on everything. I mentioned my 10-year-old is now 18, and we're struggling right now with a teenage girl and the stuff that they're growing through. And I called Nathan. He's married now and lives in South Florida, and I called him and just venting, and what am I going to do with her, kind of thing. And he said, Mom, the two most impactful things that you did for me growing up was, number one, take me to Uganda, and number two, send me to church camp. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So that very summer, I sent her to the same church camp that he went. And the next summer rolled around and she was on the plane with me to go to Uganda last year. And she cannot wait to go back this year. So
That's exciting. So
yeah,
in Uganda, the
yeah,
article is talking about a culinary school, I believe.
yes,
So
yes.
tell me about that and the connection that you made with you have somebody there that lives there that is kind of managing that, correct?
Yes, yes. It's actually her dream. And we helped her put all the pieces into place and make that come true for her. So her name is Mary, and Mary was actually our cook while we were staying in the guest house in Jinja. And so we got to know her pretty well. And she actually made Nathan's birthday cake when he turned 15 while we were there. But we just got to know her because we saw her every day, and we kept in touch, thankfully, through social media after we came home. And there was another gentleman that we kept in touch with named Joel. He was our gardener or our security guard at the guest house when we were there. And so there was just a few of them that served us while we were there. Well, fast forward, when I was coming off of the two best years in real estate ever during the pandemic, right? 20 and 21,
Mm-hmm.
I decided, okay, now's the time I can do something. Still don't know what, but I feel like now's the time. Our family was older and the kids were older and we were getting ourselves out of debt, and because of the money that I was making and in real estate. And so I reached out to some missionaries that are on the ground there 24/7 and said, look, what can I do? Realistically, what can I do? I don't want to be another missionary that just, throws a suitcase full of soccer balls out there and coloring books and calls it a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I want it to be legacy changing. That was the word that I just kept hearing, legacy changing. Whatever you're going to do, it's got to be legacy changing. And so when I reached out to Mary and Joel, Mary said to me, I've always wanted to do a culinary school or cooking school or a restaurant. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's in my wheelhouse. I've had, two restaurants and a bakery prior to real estate. My husband's been food and beverage. That's what we know. And she was
Mm-hmm.
like, you're kidding. And I was like, no, that's totally what we know. And so we started Zoom calling again, height of the pandemic. This was in October of 20. So I scheduled my first solo trip out there in 21, February of 21, to just go and explore and see if this was even possible. Like, what is the expectation? Is there a need? What is the need? Where are we? Just everything. I really just went with a blank slate and said, okay, Lord, use me. If this is what you are asking me to do, then put all these pieces together. And so I know that this is real and what I'm supposed to be doing. And so during that time, though, I really got to know Mary on a deep personal level. And she shared her story with me. And then we realized it clicked. That was the piece that was going to be legacy changing. So we decided to do the cooking school. We wanted to have a place where survivors of child marriage could come if they are lucky enough to get out of the situation and have a safe place to learn a new skill, to where they could leave and go back to their village and start their own business or get employed, something along those lines where they could basically start over,
Have
start the next
marketable
chapter.
skills. That's a huge
Absolutely.
value.
Yes, yes. So Mary herself is a survivor. She was raped and impregnated at the age of 14 and then forced to marry him because in her house, that was just another mouth to feed to them. And so they forced her out to marry him. She stayed in that very, very abusive marriage for 10 years and had 3 children with him. she asked her pastor to come over one evening for kind of like a marriage counseling, and an argument erupted, and he ended up putting a knife to her throat, her husband. And the pastor told her to flee, just said, run, just go. So she left with nothing. She had no money, no education, no skills to do anything. She left her 3 children behind, and she went back to the village where she was from and stayed with a friend until she could figure out, her next step and what she needed to do to survive. She figured out quickly that she better earn some money, if she was going to have a chance of getting her children back or even her own place to stay. And so she went to a neighbor and asked him if she could borrow his wooden rolling pin that our grandmothers all had in the kitchen. And he did. He let her borrow his rolling pin. And today, that is our logo. I don't know if you can see it, but that's our logo.
Nice.
Is the old wooden rolling pin, because it was the start to her healing and hope and skill. And that's what we want for the other survivors coming through Sunrisa Culinary School.
So how old was Mary whenever you met her in 2015?
Probably a couple of years younger than I am. So that I would have been 45. So she was probably in her early 40s.
Okay. And what is a norm? It's probably all over the board, but the age of the women that are coming into the culinary school as students, what is there? Are a lot of these young people, or are they really?
Yeah, our oldest one was 24.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with a trail of kids, and that's the thing, Geoff, is, well, I'll tell you this, and then it'll make a little bit more sense of what we realized. But when I went last year, I took a team of 9 women last year with me, and we went to the villages, and we served we served Soul Hope, we served some of the same organizations. Well, we went to the village one day, and it was in the middle of the day, like a weekday, Thursday afternoon. And all of these kids start just coming out of nowhere. I mean, I automatically obviously have a spotlight on me whenever I go, but especially in the village, some of them have never seen a white person ever in their lives. And some of the little children are deathly afraid because of what they have been told, which is we're there to harvest their organs for the black market, and we're evil, and I mean all this stuff, which is horrible. But the majority of them, that's only happened to me one time, where a little boy, and it just happened to me in November, and I was furious at the mother. But normally most of them are super excited to see us, and we usually have suckers in our pockets so they know they're going to get candy. So that kind of softens the interaction a little bit,
for sure.
but
sweetens the deal.
Absolutely. So I told Mary, I said, what is going on? Why are all these kids here? I mean, why aren't they in school? And she said, well, if you'll notice, 9 out of 10 of them are little girls. And she said, if there are limited funds in the home, which there is in every single home there, obviously, the boys in the home get to go to school first. The girls are made to either work in the field to get money or food, or they are sold off as soon as they can start producing babies to older men that all they want to do is make babies. One of the biggest problems is the men believe it's almost a badge of honor of how many children they can have. It's not how many you can support and raise. It's just how many you can produce. My friend Joel that I mentioned earlier, he has 20 something siblings. He doesn't even know how many siblings he has by his father, and hasn't even met them, but knows through other siblings. I mean, it's so backwards, and it's infuriating, honestly. But I learned quickly that I needed to stay in my lane, because I can't fix the problems of Uganda. Right. I'm hoping that I can impact the bubble that we are reaching, but I cannot fix Uganda.
Yeah, but you can make a difference in one person at a time.
Yeah,
And the
absolutely.
school, how many students can the school facilitate?
Gosh, we graduated our very first year. We graduated 22 students, and this year we will graduate 18.
So you said it's a safe place for them to come.
Hmm.
Do they live on site? Is there housing for
We
them as well, or is
n-
it not that?
mm, No, not typically. It
Okay.
depends on the case. We had two ladies that needed housing. They were coming from a village that they were too far away to commute, and they were young. Like one of them was 16. And so we did offer them a dorm space to
Hmm.
share, but typically we don't do that. Just, you just never know. That's a whole different dynamic. And the school technically is open to anyone that's willing to come and learn and want to be there. So we have had some young men come as well. So I don't want that to be, uncomfortable for anybody or them to have housing. And
Sure.
it just kind of muddies the waters a little bit
Sure.
that we're not willing to deal with. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, this
mhm.
it turns into well, we can do this, but then now we need to offer medical assistance, and now we need to offer
Yes,
this, and you can run
exactly.
on and on and on and on forever, and still
Exactly.
feel like you're not getting a whole lot done. But if you narrow in the focus to we're creating marketable skills so these people can go on and create a future, then that's
Mhm.
fantastic. You're meeting
Right.
that need.
Yes. So what I was going to say was when we went into the village, we realized, oh, those little girls were not being educated. So I immediately, like the next day, got on social media, reached out to my circle of influence through Facebook and Instagram, and said, I need scholarships. Who in my life is willing to pay for these little girls to get into school like tomorrow? These little girls are smart and street savvy and beautiful, and just, I mean, they have to be educated. There's just no way that this is okay.
Hmm.
And so we just put our 22nd child in school actually today.
That's exciting.
Yes, so we started a scholarship program because of that, and I said, is this in line with our mission? Just like you were saying, you have to stay, very focused, and it is in line with the mission
Mhm.
because, we're helping the survivors that have already been through trauma and wanting a fresh start. But these girls are likely going to be forced into marriage because of their economic situation at home, and so we're trying to do everything we can to prevent that. And their families have so far have been very, very willing for us to take them. We put them in boarding school, which is not far from their homes. And so they're in a safe place. They're fed, housed, and being educated, and they are happy as they can be. I wish I could show you pictures. Maybe I'll email you a couple, like
Yeah,
one little girl.
if you do, I
Yeah.
will absolutely put it in the link.
Okay.
So how is all of this funded? Do you do fundraisers?
Whew,
What
yes.
how is this generating money to sustain the school?
Yeah, good question. So I am 100% in charge of fundraising here. So everything that I raise in the States, 100% of that goes back to the school to Mary. And she at the school is catering. She started catering and has the students learn that aspect of the business.
Very cool.
Yep. So she's doing that. And then we just signed a lease downtown Jinja for a bakery. So we will be able to transport the goods that the kids, or I call them kids, they're kids to me, but the students make the fresh challah bread and whatever they're making at the school, we'll be able to transport to downtown to the bakery, and then that's another revenue source for us. That was a huge, huge thing for us that was lacking. Was sources of revenue there that I was really nervous about, because I don't want to do this forever. I gave myself 5 years to be the ATM machine, I call it.
Mm-hmm.
And because if I do this forever, then what are they learning?
Right.
I want them to be self-sustaining, or
Mm-hmm.
what's the point?
Right.
And so I said, I will do this for 5 years, and then I'm out as far as this capacity. I'll always
Mm-hmm.
be involved, and I'll always serve, and I'll always be on the board, and that kind of thing. But I do want them to start thinking outside of taking always,
Mm-hmm.
and how do I produce?
Yeah. Create. That's
Mhm.
fantastic.
We have two opportunities. If anybody would like to come and join us, we have several ways that people can invest in this ministry. I usually take a team in Memorial Weekend ish, late May, early June, and then again in November. So if anybody has a heart for missions and would like to go, I'd love for you to join us at some
How
point.
how many people do you generally take in a team? Is it however many will go, or is it you have
Yeah,
like a
it's
certain sweet spot number?
well, lately it's been last year, and then it turns out this year it's going to be 9. Ironically, we had about 14 that had initially said that they were really interested and then wanting to come. But, people fall off for different circumstances
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to actually buying plane tickets, and, you know, life happens. So we are, again, planning on 9 again this summer. November is a little slimmer. I usually only have, last November, 21, I had 3 people, 2 ladies from my church and myself. And then this past November, it was just me. So it's a harder time, I think, for people to leave right before the holidays, and
Mm-hmm.
schools in, if they have school children. So it's just
Right.
a different dynamic. But,
How much money do they need to raise in order to be
mhm.
able to make the trip? And you guys normally go 2 weeks, is that correct?
Yeah, I usually stay 2 to 3 weeks,
Okay.
but people come and go. Well, I'd like all of us to go at one time,
Mm-hmm.
if at all possible, at least within 24 hours of each other, and then people come back to the States whenever they
Whenever they
want.
need to.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
people have to get back to work. Not everybody can take 2 to 3 weeks off,
Right.
from work or families and that kind of stuff. So we make sure that all of that is arranged ahead of time. But yes, so I usually tell people around 3,500, and 15 of that is the flight.
Okay.
So, we stay at the school. We have housing at the school, and then Mary cooks our meals, 2 of our meals, breakfast and lunch, and then dinner's on our own. So we sometimes we'll go out, or sometimes we'll order in. It just depends on what our day looks like. But we serve the other organizations that my family served from day one. We still serve them. There's still such a need there. There's an orphanage right around actually 2 blocks from the culinary school, and we walk there and love on those babies. And it's a good experience for any age.
So we'll drop a link into, do you have a website, I'm assuming?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So we'll drop a link in the description to the website. Is that the
Okay.
best place for people to get on, learn about the organization, and learn how to support if they want to financially send some support? Is
Absolutely.
that's the
Yes.
best way?
Website
Okay.
is the best. Yes.
Okay.
And then
Well,
social media pages, I'll let you know what those are as well, because that's
okay.
really where I post, especially. And you're welcome, people are welcome to like the Sunrisa page, or friend me, follow me personally. That's fine. Because when I go, I just post a ton of pictures of what we're doing there, and who we're serving. And we check in on all of our scholarship kids, and it's just such a blessing. It'll bring such a smile to your face.
Well, I love the fact, and I definitely want to support myself, but I love the fact that the National Association of Realtors decided to highlight this. And I know that was not even
Oh
a
my
thought
gosh.
in your mind
No,
whenever you
no.
are chasing something that you feel led by God to do. You feel a
Yeah.
passion for these people that you want to help and make a difference. But that just goes to show that, God lines the things up. That this
Oh,
is going to be a blessing in your business. This is going to be a support that's going to take away some of that uncertainty and the question and the fear of how do we do this? How do I manage
absolutely.
this?
Absolutely. You know, it's interesting you say that, because upon that first visit with Mary, we would get back to the guest house and really just be speechless. Like, did that just happen? You know, I mean, it was just too easy. The pieces fell into place too easily. And it wasn't like it was too good to be true kind of feeling. It was like peaceful. Like, this is divine. I mean, you know, I mean, we felt it. We
Yeah.
felt it for sure. And I tell people now, you know, being a realtor, you know, it's easy to get caught up in material things. We have amazing years, better than ever. You know, it's ebb and flow, and
Mm-hmm.
I used to just chase all the stuff, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the car, and you know, the Rolex, and you know, whatever was trendy and whatever I felt like I needed or wanted. And now, because of this ministry, I chase dollars for a different reason. I
Mm-hmm.
chase dollars to change people's lives. So
Yeah.
it has definitely changed my life. I am not the same person that I was 2 years ago before this started, and I'll never go back.
Well, I'm sure those dollars are going to flow easier because of the purpose behind them. Um, you know, I'm so excited for you for what you're doing. I'm excited for the listeners to have an opportunity to support this. But
Thank
you
you.
know, whenever we spoke just a little bit ago, you said, "Hey, well, we're going to be going back. You should go with us." So, you
Yeah.
know, I'm definitely thinking about
All
what
right.
can I do? How can I help? So, you know,
Oh my
everything happens
goodness.
for a reason.
Yeah.
I definitely have seen some interesting things in my own life, and I am excited to see where this goes.
Thank
The
you.
legacy change that
Oh,
is happening for these people, their families, their children.
yes.
This is more than just the people that are going through your school, but their children. You know,
Absolutely.
this is
And that's
going
what's
to
so
make a
important to
difference.
me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
exciting. Well,
Thank
Pam,
you.
do you have any final thoughts for us? Any questions for me? Anything that you'd like to leave us with?
I think I would just like to leave your listeners with a plea for prayer for us and moving forward, that the Lord would just direct our steps, and we would always be willing to be present and listen and receive. You know, I always want to feel like I'm doing what I was called to do. And sometimes, you know, we get stuck and sideswiped on things that happen, and
Mhm.
it's very easy to get discouraged there and here. You know, when people aren't as receptive as you hope there, but also here, especially when I'm trying to raise money for something that I'm so passionate about. I just want to be able to present that in a way that it moves people, you know, to know that I am doing this because it's something that I felt called to do.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't something that somebody's just going to sign up to do just for fun or to promote yourself, because
Yeah.
you're taking on a huge undertaking of work, like
Yeah.
countless hours of work that you're putting in. This is a passion for people and just fulfilling your purpose. So
Absolutely.
that is
I'm so
incredible.
grateful for the opportunity, Geoff. Seriously, it is. When I got your message, I was just blown away at an opportunity to share this story. So thank you so much. I'm grateful.
Absolutely. And I told you before, you should start a podcast.
All
You
right.
should you should do it, even if it's a once a month drop. You should do it, because
Oh,
just to put this out for people and get some different perspectives and vantage points from different people about this topic,
mm-hmm.
that raises awareness, and it could just be the right person hears. You
Mm-hmm.
only need the right person to hear
Right.
what's going on, and they're like, okay, hey, I have these assets. I have this that I can help in this area. So,
Right.
give people the opportunity to give, allow them
Mm-hmm.
that blessing. Thank you so much for coming on. We're definitely going to stay in touch. I'm excited to see where this goes.
That sounds amazing. Thank you, Geoff.